What's up, guys? Jerry here. My hair looks funky today. I'm on the beat, alright? I'm about to lay down the law. I've got too much energy right now. Yeah. Alright. I bet you're wondering why I made all those police puns just now. Or not. Because, you know, I only made 2 of them, really. Anyway, I am making police puns because I was treated to a screening of a film. A movie that came out just today, depending on when you watch this, called Let's Be Cops. Yes, the new buddy comedy slash cop picture starring Jake Johnson, who you might know from The New Girl, Safety Not Guaranteed, as the principal in the first 21 Jump Street movie, as well as Damon Wayans Jr., who you might remember from Dance Flick, and I think also The New Girl at some point. So, let's get into this. Let's be cops. Alright, so this movie centers around 2 guys. They're longtime friends, they're roommates, and they're both sort of dealing with being 30 and not having a lot going for themselves. The Damon Wayans Jr. character is sort of struggling at work. No one takes him or his ideas seriously. He's having issues with his, self-confidence, and, he's a timid guy trying to hack it in the video game industry. And Jake Johnson is... he doesn't exactly have a job, but he's got a lot of confidence. He's sort of always mired in his past glory days and whatnot, and he doesn't really take a lot of responsibility for anything. So you have these 2 guys who are, kind of a pair of odd ducks. And, early on in this movie, they attend their college reunion, and they just sort of come to see in great detail how lackluster and unsatisfying their lives have become since college, now in their 30s and whatnot. And it's after this point that things start to heat up and get fun. Because if you've seen the trailer, they go to this party thinking it's a costume party, so they dress up as cops. When in actuality, it turns out to be a masquerade party, so they look like doofuses. But after the party, they're sort of walking around the street, and people, start to react to them as though they're cops, and then the movie unfolds. Hijinks ensue, as I'm sure you can tell. And I think that first and foremost, your enjoyment of this movie hinges on one thing, which is your ability to suspend disbelief and to go along with the ridiculousness of this idea. Because movies like this, I've often heard the criticism from both critics and viewers that, oh, this would never happen, no one would put up with this, no one would get away with this, and it's true, obviously. So, if you're the type of person, which I am, who can suspend disbelief if the movie, gives you enough reason to, then I think you'll have a really good time with this. It definitely gets better as it goes along, and it does at least make an effort to acknowledge that what they're doing is A, illegal, and B, sort of ridiculous and improbable. But this movie does ultimately end up being a lot of fun. It takes a little while to establish a really good rhythm, but Jake Johnson and Damon Wayans Jr. have a lot of chemistry with each other, and what's interesting about this movie is that partway through, sort of towards the end, it takes a left turn and becomes an actual cop movie, more or less. I mean, they shoot the villain stuff and the cop stuff like they would an actual cop movie. That's where I sort of got to give the director the most praise here, is because he jumps back and forth between buddy comedy and cop movie with a good amount of action towards the end, and it's shot well. Like, the action is good, and it's a lot of fun, but after a while things get serious, and I believe that tone shift. So it's a little long-winded on the front end, it's a little choppy, but it's a good time. I had a good time. The comedy's funny. There are a lot of really fun supporting characters and stuff. Rob Riggle is in there. A lot of fun to watch whenever he shows up, and he's actually got a pretty sizable role in here. The romantic female lead is good. Keegan-Michael Key from Key and Peele is hilarious in his small part. Natasha Leggero, who's a comedian, she's in here for some pretty wacky scenes. So there's a lot of, there's a lot of character in here, and the movie does commit to itself. It does commit to its characters, and it does commit to being a cop movie when it wants to be a cop movie, when the action heats up. All the villains, they take their roles seriously. And, that's sort of what works, is like Jake Johnson and Damon Wayans Jr. are really charming together, and there's a lot of good humor in there. It's not an airtight script. There are certainly plot holes, and if you're sitting there looking for them, you will find them. It's not as consistent as The Hangover or Horrible Bosses or the kind of comedies this movie seems like it's trying to be, because it wants to have an edge, and to a degree it does, and this in the second half of the movie it definitely gets a lot tighter. But it's a good time, you know? It's got a pretty low rating on Rotten Tomatoes, I think, but you know what? The audience I was with had a good time. Everyone clapped at the end, and it's definitely, I think you're gonna enjoy this if you go check it out. You know, it's a fun buddy movie. It's a cool cop movie. You know, they actually put a little thought into it, and it's nice. You know, you might want to hit up a matinee just in case. But if y'all are looking for something fun to do this weekend and you don't necessarily want to go to The Expendables 3. Yeah, I'd say definitely check out Let's Be Cops. It's not an incredible movie, but it is fun. It left a good taste in my mouth. I actually had a good time. So if you can suspend your disbelief enough to go along with this ridiculousness, you know, it's a good time. So, yeah, Let's Be Cops. What's your favorite buddy cop movie? Let's talk about that. That's it for now, so till next time, the movie is Let's Be Cops. I am Jerry, and a cheers.